All right. So thanks, Barbara. My name is Steve Jones. I'm the Channel Sales Manager here at Bluebeam Software. I've been working with Novedge for a number of years now. They're a long-standing, awesome partner of ours, and I'm happy to be taking part on this webinar today. For anyone that may not have heard, we actually had a product release last week. So last week on Tuesday, we released Bluebeam Revu 2017. So it's the latest and greatest version of Revu yet. And today we're going to be focusing on what exactly is new in that release. And I'll be doing a live demonstration of all the new features so that you guys can check it out. As Barbara mentioned, right on the Novedge website, they do have a Bluebeam specific product page, so you can find all sorts of great information about the different versions, different features, pricing, and so on and so forth. So I'd encourage you to go check that out after this webinar. And as Barbara mentioned, we are recording this, and I know that Novedge will be posting this up online for any folks that would like to view it afterwards as well. So with that, before we dive into the new version of Revu and all the new features, I just wanted to speak at kind of a high level about Bluebeam as a company. So we've been in business for roughly 15 years now, and we are at our core an AEC solution. So we are really targeted towards architects, engineers, construction firms, as well as other sort of technical industries, so oil and gas, manufacturing, anyone that's working with kind of drawing sets and wants to collaborate on those, that's right in our wheelhouse. And you can see the metrics on the screen there as far as the adoption within U.S. companies. So a lot of folks in the AEC space are already using us today, but we're growing every year and continuing to expand internationally as well. And then a little bit about our solutions that we provide. So Bluebeam Revu is kind of our flagship product that we sell, and it is a desktop PDF application geared towards AEC professionals. And within Revu, we have an integrated cloud collaboration platform called Bluebeam Studio. It's included completely for free with every seat of Revu, regardless of version. And so right there within Revu, you can upload your files up into the cloud and share them with your project partners, wherever they may be, anytime, any place, and even regardless of whether they own Bluebeam at all. So a lot of folks don't realize this, but you can actually invite users that do not own Bluebeam Revu to join your existing session or project within Studio, and they can just use our free viewer, which is called View, and still be able to log in, access those files, and collaborate and have all their markup tools. So that's one of the beauties of Studio versus other sorts of collaboration platforms out there. There's not sort of a requirement of ownership for all of the different people that are participating. It's a very open platform. So I just want to pause for a moment and just make sure that my audio is coming through okay. For the folks on the line, if you could just type in the chat window real quickly and just let me know that the audio sounds all right and you can hear me okay. All right, and it looks like it sounds good. Appreciate that. I always like to just do a double check before I get too far down the road. So with that, let's keep moving along here. And so circling back to Bluebeam Revu and really what it's designed for. It's designed for allowing customers to use sort of a common platform and common data environment through all stages of the project lifecycle. So all the way from the very beginning in the initial design review through the entire construction process, all the way to the very end, going through punch and project handover. So at every step along the way, you can utilize Revu and its Studio component as well in some form or fashion. And this is one of the beauties of Revu versus some other solutions out there in the market, is just the ability to apply it to such a wide breadth of workflows. In terms of our focus and enhancements for this year, for Review 2017, our big development focus was specifically on takeoffs and estimation. So that was a big focus of ours. You'll notice a lot of the features I show you are kind of geared around that workflow, and that's for a very specific reason. So whenever a project is going to be built, whether that's a hospital, a shopping mall, etc., traditionally what happens is there's a request for bids from different general contractors. So you have a lot of GCs competing for that business, and then in turn those contractors are requesting bids from lots of subcontractors. So for any given project, you have a very large quantity of companies that are needing to perform takeoffs and estimates. So this is a very important workflow in the life cycle, and we really wanted to expand our functionality for that specific workflow to help out our customers that are doing that sort of work. So very heavy on that piece, but we also have some great stuff outside of takeoffs and estimation around automation and visualization tools, which I'll get into as well. So firstly, touching on quantity takeoffs. Ultimately, we want to help you to deliver a better bid faster and more efficiently. And the features that we built out around this, firstly, dynamic fill. I won't give away the big reveal just yet. I'll show you that in a second. But at its core, it allows you to create spaces, take area measurements and perimeter measurements far more quickly than before. Quantity Link, which is a Review Extreme exclusive feature, allows you to live sync your markup data from the Markups List over to Excel. We have a lot of folks that are utilizing Excel for performing takeoffs and calculating totals, so you can live link your information back and forth doing that. Then we have lots of various enhancements around measurement tools and count tools, which I'll get into as well. And then on the subject of automation and visualization, some of the new features around that are automatic form creation. So if you want to take a PDF form that you generated, maybe in Microsoft Word, for example, and then add fillable form fields onto the PDF, you can now do so automatically. This is another Review Extreme exclusive feature. Batch sign and seal allows you to digitally sign and stamp large quantities of documents in one big automated process. So for any architects that are on the line, you're really going to appreciate that feature, not having to sign and stamp these individual PDFs one by one. Now you can do it in one batch automated process. 360-degree photos. So in the last couple of releases, we expanded our functionality, being able to embed images and video within a PDF. Now we've branched out even further into 360-degree photos. So for folks that are out on the job site and want to take a 360-degree photo and be able to stick it right on your PDF and embed it in there, you can do so now. And lastly, 3D PDF enhancements. So we've enhanced the way that you're able to interact with 3D model elements, element data. You can now change some of the metadata, change some of the coloration, and export your 3D model tree, and I'll show you how that works as well. So that's pretty much it, speaking at a high level of what all the features are, but there's no better way to learn about this stuff than to actually see it real in action. So let's go ahead and jump into the demonstration portion of this. And to illustrate this, I'm actually going to jump over to my blank material takeoff page. And we're going to run through some of those takeoff and estimation specific features that I touched on earlier. So since we're doing a little bit of takeoff here, before I dive into the new stuff, let's just kind of run through a little bit of initial document setup, some best practices that we've seen customers use, and hopefully some of the folks on the line will find this beneficial. One of the interesting things that you'll notice about this particular document is if I zoom in right here, you'll notice that this person actually embedded a profile right within this PDF as a file attachment. And this is a really, really cool best practice, because what it means is that if you send this PDF out to any other folks on your project team, they can actually double-click on this and import this file into their instance of Revu and be using the exact same profile that you have. So this is awesome for standardization. You can also include pre-built tool sets in those profiles so that they get all the necessary tools as well. In this case, I cheated. I loaded the profile before this webinar, so rather than importing it again, I'm just going to switch over. And interesting thing that you'll note, in addition to just the profile or the interface shifting around a little bit, if I pop into my tool chest here, I have all these takeoff tools that are already pre-populated, ready to rock with their label as well as all the visual elements. So this came over right within that profile that I imported before. Also, custom columns down here. So there's a couple custom columns that have already been set up. If I look at those custom columns, you can see that I have a material column, which has different types of materials there, as well as costs, and that might be per unit or per square foot or per linear foot, etc. So that's already all set up there. And then I've also got this material cost column, which is a formula column, and it's basically saying take whatever my measurement is and multiply it by that material cost per unit, and this is where I'm going to get that kind of running total cost of materials there. So all this stuff just came over right with that profile that I imported in there. So that's a really good example of a handy way to utilize profiles. Another thing that I want to do before I start performing takeoffs on this is I really need to make sure that this drawing is calibrated properly. That way my measurements are correct. And the way that you do that within the context of Revu is first you want to find a known distance. So in this case, I'll use this right here. I know that the distance between these two lines is 6 feet and 5 inches. So I'm going to calibrate my drawing around that measurement. So if you go to the measurement tab right here and then calibrate, it's going to say select 2 points to calibrate. And I'll just click between these 2 points. I'm actually holding the shift key, and if you hold the shift key, it will lock the line into a straight line, basically at 45-degree increments. So a handy way if you want to be able to take straight lines. If I release the shift key, then I can kind of place that line wherever. But I'm going to hit shift and click there, and now I just need to calibrate. So I'm going to say that this is 6 feet, 5 inches. So now let's do a quick test and make sure that that calibrated correctly. So I'm going to take a length measurement, and sure enough, 6 feet, 5 inches. So it looks good. So I always encourage folks, even if whoever sent you a drawing has told you that it's calibrated, I always just do a quick double check and just verify that. Better safe than sorry. So another really cool best practice when you're performing takeoffs is utilizing a new feature that we launched last year called Legends. So with Legends, you can essentially put a legend right on your document that tells you what specific markups are, and also depending on what columns you have toggled on, it can show running subtotals for those materials as well. So using this takeoff tool set that came over with that profile, I'm just going to click this gear wheel and create a legend out of it and just stick that right on my drawing right there. And if I want to change the columns that are displayed, I can just go to Edit Columns, and let's turn on the label. Let's see. Yeah, we'll just do label. So I just added that column on there. And this doesn't look all that interesting right now because there's no markups on the page, but we'll circle back later once we have some markups. It'll be a lot more interesting to look at. Okay, so on to the new stuff. The first one that I'm going to show is called dynamic fill. So the traditional way in previous iterations of review that you would take area measurements or perimeter measurements or create spaces would be to kind of click around the room. So I'll show you very quickly here. If I wanted to take an area measurement, I could kind of click around the border of this room, and there's my area measurement. So it's certainly better than doing it with pen and paper, but still not as easy as it could be. So let's make it a little bit easier, and let's use that dynamic fill tool. So to get there, I'm actually going to go to Measure and then Dynamic Fill. And when I click on that, it's going to open this, this new menu right here. I'm just going to collapse the side panel. So it's going to open that new menu there. And essentially, Dynamic Fill, it works almost like a paint bucket tool and allows you to just kind of fill in these rooms automatically. But before that, I just need to close off these doors so that I can clearly define the boundaries of this room. So firstly, I'm going to just draw a line across these doors and kind of seal it off, so to speak. And then now I can switch to that paint bucket tool, and I'm just going to hold my mouse button, and it's just going to fill in that room for me. So let me kind of zoom in here and fill this in. I always joke that this is like when you're a kid and you're doing a coloring book, filling in all the lines. Okay, so I just did that, that men's restroom. Let's do the women's restroom as well. Alrighty, zoom in a little closer there. And looks like I missed a spot. Okay, so there we go. I just filled in these two rooms. Now what can we do with it? Well, firstly, we can create a space. And we can name that space whatever we want. So I'm going to call this restroom. Okay, and you can also create polygons. In this case, don't really need to do that, but I would like to do an area measurement, so I'm going to do that. Polylink, don't need that, but let's do perimeter. And actually, to make things even more interesting, rather than just taking area and perimeter measurements, let's actually assign them to those material types that we have in that tool chest. So for the area measurement, I'm going to say that not only do I want this to be an area measurement, I want this to be that tile material type that I selected. And then for perimeter, I want that to be a tile base. Awesome. So let's go ahead and apply that. So there we go. So we created essentially three different things right there. So firstly, we created spaces. So if I go to my spaces, you'll see that I've created those right there. And then we also created area measurements. And let me actually turn on the label so you can see the area measurements. Actually, let's not do that for the perimeter. Let's just do that for the area measurements. So here's the two area measurements that we made. Let's show the caption for those. There we go. So you can see the tile, excuse me, the tile and the square footage right there. So much faster to select rooms, create area measurements, create perimeter measurements, define spaces, much faster process than before. So very, very handy. Those folks on the line that are doing takeoffs, I'm sure will really like this feature. Cool, so that is dynamic fill. Let's go through some of the other measurement enhancements here. First I'm going to hit on is Polylink. So to illustrate this, I'm going to use these sinks right here. Let's say that I have some pipes running between these sinks, and I want to take length measurements between each of these sinks. Well, traditionally, the way that you would do that is doing lots of separate length measurement markups, but that's even easier now using Polylink. So Polylink, I can actually, in one measurement, just click between all these different points, And now I have all of the individual measurements between those points as well as a grand total. You can see that right there, 20 feet and 3 inches. If I want to turn off that grand total, I can turn off the caption there and just have the measurements between there. So this is just one markup in the markups list instead of lots of markups. Now, if you do a polylinked measurement and then you decide after the fact that you would really just like to split it up into separate markups, no problem. Just right-click on it, and you can split them up. I think I clicked on the wrong. Here we go. Split all. I could just do split all, and now these are separate individual markups now. But I'm going to undo that and bring them all back together. Let's show the caption here so that I can show you the next enhancement. So a really common request that we got from folks, especially ones that are doing like electrical or plumbing, is the ability to account for a rise or a drop. So for example, if a pipe is passing between floors of a building vertically and you need to account for that in your length measurements, now you can do that very easily. So the way that you do that is actually just going into this Measurements tab, and you can see right here I have a field for rise and drop. So if I know that it's a 10-foot drop, I can just hit that in there, and you'll notice on this grand total here, let me move this so it's a little easier to read. Now I have that rise and drop listed on there, and it also added it to my length total and updated that as well. So let me change the rise drop again so you can see that one more time. So I'll do 20 feet instead, and watch the totals. It updated those for you right there. So very handy a way of accounting for rise and drop. Speaking of vertical measurements, another really common request we got was accounting for slope. So if you had a sloped surface, such as a roof or a ramp, and you're taking area measurements on it, on a two-dimensional drawing like this, you need to account for slope. And we had some customers that were already doing this, essentially through really basically doing trigonometry in the markups list with custom columns. But we made this process much, much easier, being able to account for slope. Let me show you that. Let's use this ramp right here. So ramp number 4. We'll use this as the example. Let's take an area measurement first. To do that, we can use our handy dynamic fill tool to take our area measurement, and we'll just fill it in. So I'm just holding the mouse button as it fills in there. There we go. And we don't need to create spaces. I'll toggle that off. No perimeter. Let's do area, and we'll say this is concrete type 1, and apply this. So there we go, concrete 1. You can see that's 846 square feet there, but that's not accounting for slope, so let's fix that. So I just selected that markup, and in the Measurements tab, you'll see this option for slope. Let me pull that out so it's easier to see. And there's 3 different ways of calculating slope. We have pitch, degree, and grade. And depending on your particular industry, depending on which country you're located in, personal preference, etc., you might pick any of these 3 options. For this specific demo, let's go with grade, and we're going to give this ramp an 8% grade and hit enter. So watch that total square footage on that concrete 1 markup. It's going to update. And now it says my slope is 8%. Let me fix that. There we go. Slope is 8%. Area measurement 849 square feet. So again, I'm going to change that grade. Let's see how the measurement changes. It just updated that to reflect that 15% grade that I switched it to. So super handy for accommodating for slope. Another measurement enhancement is doing cutouts on area measurements. Previously, cutouts were only polygons, but we had a lot of folks that wanted to do round cutouts. Now you can do that very easily. So if you go to cutout right here, and you can go to ellipse and do some round cutouts. So I'm just going to say that I've got a couple of I don't know, manhole covers on this ramp, and I'm going to cut those out, and you'll notice the area measurement is updating accordingly, removing the area for those cutouts right there. So a little more flexibility with cutouts. Another measurement enhancement that we had was around counting, so applying count measurements. Previously, when you were applying count measurements, you were limited to just a few kind of out-of-the-box default markups for count measurements. That's no longer the case. Now you can use custom ones, and I'll show you how that works. Actually, to illustrate that, I'll kind of chain it together with utilizing visual search. So let's say that I want to count the number of sinks in this building. Well, what I can actually do is firstly go to search, and I'm going to do a visual search for these sinks and select one of these sinks right here and go ahead and search for that. It's going to take just a couple seconds. You can see the percentage right down here of how many results it's found. So we're just going to let that run while I drink some coffee. And you can actually do this on a batch basis for an entire folder of documents. So if you had a folder with lots of individual PDFs and you wanted to search for those sinks, you could absolutely do that. Okay, so we got all of our search results here. Here's all the sinks that it found. And then with these search results, we can check individual ones, or I'm just going to check all of them. And just like before, we have lots of options for what we can do with them. We can hyperlink all these sinks, highlight them, etc. I'm going to apply a count measurement, and here's where things are different. So before, where it says built-in, previously those were the only options you had, but now you can actually use any of these custom markup tools as well. So you can see that I have a sink number 1 markup. I'm going to use that, and I just use that sink markup to apply to all these sinks. And this is awesome not only because it looks different visually, but I had already assigned a material cost to that sink number 1. So now it just auto-calculates that, that subtotal for me right there, taking that material cost, multiplying it by the count that it found. So super helpful addition to counting things on drawings. So that kind of begs the question of, well, how did I even create this custom count markup? So let's run through that briefly here. So for the sake of brevity, my custom count markup is going to be this toilet right here. So I'm going to snapshot this toilet, and I'll paste it onto my drawing. So here we go. I have this toilet that I snapshotted. I want this toilet to be red instead of black, so let's right-click on it, and we're going to change the color. Change colors, here we go. And I'm going to say, instead of black, I want it to be red. Okay, and there's my red toilet right there. But right now, this is just a regular old markup. So if I go to the markup, or the tool chest rather, you can see it right there in my recent tools. It's not a count measurement yet. So we need to make it one. So I just moved it over to my tools, and I'm going to right-click on it and say, create count. And it's going to duplicate that markup tool. But this one, you can see where it says 1, 2, 3. That's because this one is now a count measurement. So as I click around on the drawing and place this custom markup tool, now it's counting. So if I go down to the markups list, you can see that it just counted these 7 toilets right there. So it's really as easy as that, creating a count markup. From there, if you wanted to get more advanced like the sinks were and apply material cost, you could absolutely do that right within the preferences. You just go to the settings for the markup. You could apply the subject right there, And then within the custom column for material, you would just apply a material cost to that subject. But for the sake of brevity, I won't get too far into that. But one thing I do want to show you all, though, is the new ability to split count measurements. So I've got 7 toilets that I've counted here. What if I decide, you know what, this toilet right here, I don't want this included in my count. I want to split it off. If you right-click on it, you can actually say split counts, and it'll split off whatever you have selected. So I'll just say split counts, and now this toilet, actually these are the 6 right here, and then this one right here is split off as an individual one. So I can continue doing that if I have other ones that I need to split off right there. So this is really handy because before you had to essentially redo these counts. There's no way to split them before. So this is going to make your life a lot easier. Okay, so I've been doing all sorts of odds and ends on this drawing, taking measurements, placing markups, and so forth. So it's time to circle back to that legend that we put on the drawing at the very beginning of this whole demo. And now this is a lot more interesting. Now that we have these markups placed on there, it's actually plugging in the information about what these markups look like, what they stand for, how, you know, what's the total quantity or measurement, what's the label. So this is really super handy for folks to just be able to eyeball the legend and see exactly what everything stands for and the different totals. Especially useful if you're sending out this drawing to an unfortunate soul who does not have review and they don't have the benefit of this handy markups list down at the bottom. They can still look at this legend and be able to reference the information that way. So in terms of sharing information, legends, that's certainly one way. Another way of sharing information about the markups on this drawing is down in the markups list. And for a long time now, you've had the ability to export this markups list. In the context of takeoffs and estimation, usually this is in a CSV, so that way you can open it in an Excel document and have all that markup data. You can apply cost to it and calculate your subtotals. But just kind of exporting it to CSV, typically folks then have to bring that information into a template. There's still a lot of manual work involved getting it to where you want. So we wanted to eliminate that manual work and just be able to live sync this markup data with your existing template. So I'm going to go ahead and pop into a template that I actually already had open. So I cheated. I had this running in the background. I already had it set up. And you'll notice that it has already been populating in the measurement data from right here in that markups list. So it's populating right in there. So for example, this tile base, you can see where it says 53.76 feet. I've populated it in right there. So super handy. You'll notice that this field right here is blank for tile. I actually did this on purpose so I can show you how the link works. If I want to establish a link within an Excel cell to a certain subset of markup information, I can just right-click within Excel, go to Quantity Link, Create, and essentially I'm going to set up the filters for the information I want in this cell. So I'm going to say I want area measurements where the label is tile 1 and hit OK. And when I did that, it went ahead and pulled in that information from the 2 bathrooms for 85 square feet total. So really, really handy way of calculating the measurement data within Excel. So you can see right here, tile 1, it was 40 and 45, adds up to 85. There's 85 right there. You can also use these same Excel templates that you set up and just kind of change the drawings that it's pointing to. So if I actually right-click, go to Quantity Link, and do Source Files, let's change it up, and let's go to We'll remove this one, and let's actually add a different source file. So here's another one. So we'll swap this in there. You'll notice the totals all changed. Let's take a look at what that file looks like and why those totals changed. Here it is right here. So here's the new source file that I just substituted in there. So I essentially just changed that Excel document to point to this drawing instead of the previous one, and it auto-updated all those totals for me. So this is going to be awesome for any folks that are doing takeoffs and estimation, really cutting down on that redundant work for you. So with that, it's time to switch gears a little bit away from takeoffs and estimation. We're going to go into those automation and visualization tools that I touched on earlier. And the first one that we're going to hit on is auto form creation. So I'm going to go ahead and close some of this other stuff I have open and get that out of there. And let me open up an example of a form for you. So this right here is an RFI form. And you'll notice that it has some underlines here for where fields should be, but there's no form field set up. And traditionally, you would have to go through one by one, set up all the form fields. Not the most efficient way of doing things. This is now way easier. I can just go to document, or actually, excuse me, form, go to form, and then just hit this auto create button. And boom, there you go. There's all my form fields. Added them in there. It was smart enough to know that, oh, this is a signature field, so put a digital signature field. And it's smart enough to actually label the form fields appropriately based off of the text that it finds on the document. So this particular example has text fields and a signature field. This feature also currently supports checkboxes as well. So if you have checkboxes on your form, it'll identify those and place them accordingly too. So super helpful way of quickly creating fillable PDF forms. The next automation tool that I'm going to hit on is batch sign and seal. So batch sign and seal, at its core, it allows you to digitally sign and stamp large quantities of documents in one automated process. So let's take a look at that. So like most batch processes, the way I'm going to access this is in File, Batch, and then here's that new one down at the bottom, Sign and Seal. And I need to load in the folder of documents that I'd like to sign. So I've got some examples ready to rock, of course. So these are all the PDFs that I'm going to digitally sign and stamp in this process. And something tricky about these ones is that there's actually 3 different sheet sizes amongst these PDFs. So I need to essentially place where I want the signature and stamp to be on each of these sheet sizes. So I'm going to select my digital signature. Let's hope that I type in the correct password. If you want to put a reason that you're signing it, you can do that. And then I'm going to select my seal. I just have this approved stamp that I'm going to use, but you could use any stamp that you wanted. And it's going to place them initially in the top left corner, but then you can click and drag and place them wherever you would like. So I'm going to place them right here. If you want to change the size of them, you can absolutely do that. So I will shrink this down a little bit. There we go. Actually, I just made that bigger, but let's try that one more time. There we go. Awesome. So I just placed it on this one sheet size. Let's do it for the other ones. So the 8.5 by 11. This signature is way too big. Let's shrink that down a little bit. Okay. Put that right there. And then the last one here, we'll say I want that to be right there, and let's put this stamp right there. So for these sheet sizes, it's going to place it at those locations that I specified for all the the documents of that sheet size. So when I'm done, I'm just going to hit done. It's going to run this process. And now that we've done that, let's actually take a look at these documents here. So I'm going to open up one of the ones that we just ran this on, and you'll notice that now I have that digital signature placed where I specified on the page, and there's that stamp also where I specified it on the page. So very handy way of signing and stamping large quantities of documents. Okay, so from here I'm going to jump into some of the visualization enhancements. And first one I'd like to show is the 360-degree photos. So I have right here, oh, that's the wrong one. I have right here a 2D drawing, and within this 2D drawing, you can see that I've embedded a photo within this markup. So embedding photos is not new. We've had this for a couple years now, but what's different here is when I open that, you'll notice in the top right corner it says 360 degrees, and I can actually rotate this around and view that 360-degree photo. And it's embedded right there within that PDF that you can send out to people. So this is particularly awesome for documenting site conditions. You know, as they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. 360-degree picture, I think, is even better. So for our list of supported cameras for this feature, just look at our compatibility and system requirements page right on our bluebeam.com website. I think currently, as of today, we have 7 or 8 cameras that we officially support, and we're adding more and more every day. So we want to make this feature accessible to as many people as possible. So moving along here to other visualization enhancements, let's go through the enhancements to 3D PDFs. So it's going to just take a couple seconds to load this 3D PDF of a terminal building. So bear with me here just one moment. And there's our terminal building. So for anyone that maybe didn't realize that 3D PDFs were a thing, they certainly are. So you can actually generate 3D PDFs directly out of a number of applications utilizing our plugins. So for example, Revit, Navisworks, and SketchUp Pro. Or you can also import IFC files as well, or U3D files too. So 3D PDFs are not new. We've been doing them for a long time. But what is different here is the 3D model tree. I'm going to drag this down to the bottom so it's a little easier to read. The 3D model tree is now laid out very similar to the markups list with all this metadata here. And you can actually change the metadata now. So where it says work set exterior shell, if I wanted to change what this is called and say interior shell, I can change that metadata right within that markups list right there. So this is new, being able to change that metadata. Something else that's new is the ability to search. So if I wanted to find all of the building, or excuse me, all of the windows in this building, let me, sorry, this is really really hard to see. There we go, much better. So if I wanted to find all the windows in this building, I can actually search for windows down here in the search bar. So let's run a search for windows. And it's going to essentially make everything else transparent so that you can very easily spot all those windows on that 3D PDF. So very handy. That's a new feature. And something else that's really cool, and this was a common request that we got, was being able to change the color of different elements. So if you wanted to color code elements by like construction phase, or whether it's a hot water line or a wastewater line, et cetera, you can do so. So I'm just going to change the color of this roof. And the way you do that is just right within the markups list. You can, let me select the roof again, you can just change that right here under color. I'm going to be obnoxious and make this roof neon green there. And there's my green roof. And let's do the same with this concrete. Let's make this concrete red. So very common feature request, being able to change the colors on 3D elements. So very cool stuff. And this 3D model tree, just like the markups list, you can export it out into a CSV file if you would like it in spreadsheet format. So very easy to do. All right. So I believe that's pretty much everything, folks. So hopefully you'll like all the new features in 2017. Just like always, we do give free 30-day trials, so if you want to get your hands on it and give it a whirl before you commit to making a purchase, you can absolutely do that. I believe right on the Bluebeam product page on Novedge, you can actually download a trial right from there. Again, just to kind of take a look at what that product page looks like. Let me jump back to my slides right here. Product page looks like this, so you can just hop into the Bluebeam product page, get all the information you need right there. Lastly, before I kind of open the floor for questions, I just want to say thanks again to Novedge for hosting this webinar. Appreciate all the great work that you do and being such a great partner. Novedge, a long-standing gold partner of ours, so any sort of needs you have, questions you have, anything at all, feel free to reach out to them. You're in good hands. One final thing before we kick things over to questions, I just want to plug our upcoming user conference. So the Bluebeam Extreme Conference this year is going to be on from August 14th to 16th. It's going to be at the JW Marriott just down the road in Los Angeles here. So highly encourage y'all to sign up and participate. It's an awesome conference, tons of training. We give lots of training. We have customer sessions where they share their best practices. We talk about how people have utilized Revu in real-world projects. So it's not kind of pie-in-the-sky theory. We're talking about real-world practical applications of using the software and how you can work more efficiently in your real-life job. So highly encourage you to check it out. So with that, I'm going to just open the floor for questions because we have another about 10 minutes to go. So if you have any questions, type them in that question window, and I'll do the best that I can to answer them live on the air. Looks like no questions just yet, but I'm going to hang tight there and give you all a chance to type them in there. Still no questions. This is a shy audience. I'm going to hang on for just a few more minutes. Okay, we got a question here. Can remote users also comment on Excel takeoffs? So I believe what you mean there, if I'm understanding correctly, is if you had a drawing hosted on like a studio project or studio session, could you do live link and connect that to an Excel document, and then that way other folks within the studio environment could place markups and have it populate in that Excel document? I believe that's, if I understand correctly, that's what you're asking. The answer to that at this stage is no. So it would need to be both the drawing and the Excel document would need to be local files. They could not be hosted in Studio to utilize that live link functionality. That's the way that it stands today, but I can totally understand why you're asking that question. It sounds like a great application, and I'd be happy to provide that to product management for future development. Great question. Thank you. Any other questions out there? Here's a good one. Which of these new 2017 features is coming to Revu Mac next? So that's, to be totally transparent, I don't know the answer to that question. I do know that we have a dedicated product team here at Bluebeam that is responsible specifically for Revu Mac. And we're very much committed to continuing to develop Revu Mac and bring it up to feature parity with Windows. So that is the long-term goal, is that you have all the same features in Windows as in Mac. So we're working hard to accomplish that goal. We have Revu Mac on an accelerated development cycle. But in terms of timeline or what specific features will be next, unfortunately I don't have an answer to that question. Any other questions out there? Nothing coming in. I'm going to hang tight for a few more minutes, though. All right, folks. Looks like there's no more questions. So I think we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. I appreciate everyone's time, and thanks so much for taking an hour out of your day to join me and learn about the new release. And hopefully you're as excited as we are. I truly can confidently say that this is Revu continues to get better every year. This is the best release that we have to date. Lots of cool stuff. So if you are on maintenance and you've not upgraded yet, I would highly encourage you to do that. There's actually a self-upgrade portal right on bluebeam.com where you can do that, or you can always reach out to Novedge. They'd be happy to facilitate that process for you. If you are not on maintenance, then you can definitely do a trial of the new version, see if you like it. And then in terms of upgrading, again, Novedge can help you with that as well. So thank you so much for your time, everyone. I hope you have a great day, and talk to you soon. All right, bye.